What's up, guys? This is Neil from A1 Productions. This is going to be your first lesson in Fruity Loops. And obviously, if you've come here, then you're obviously interested in producing. Now, before I start anything, I just want you to know that don't be overwhelmed with what you learn, because obviously it's a lot to take in each lesson. So take it step by step. Just make sure that you're having fun while you're doing it. Don't consider yourself as a noob, because we're all the same and we're all in the same boat. So let's do this together. Okay, so FL Studio, we're on version 12 now. I've been using Fruity Loops since I was 12 or 13 years old, I think I was, and that was when Fruity Loops 3 was out, I believe. It possibly more, but yeah, I've been producing for many years. I started off with Fruity Loops, and obviously I had a bit of an up and down with Reason, but I wasn't so keen on Reason because Fruity Loops has so much more to offer, and the VSTs that Fruity provide themselves, even the basic ones, they are really, really cool. VST, by the way, is a virtual instrument. It's a plugin, and what the plugin does, it creates a sound, or will create your custom sound, or it has what they call presets. The preset is a pre-made sound inside that VST. And obviously there's four main parts of Fruity Loops, I would say. Some people would beg to differ, but okay, so the four main parts I would say would be definitely your browser. Okay, your browser will hold all your instruments, and this is what a browser will look like. Okay, these are folders. So obviously if you have a folder with loads of drums that you've made or downloaded or brought yourself, obviously you can just add the location and add it into Fruity Loops in the browser. So configure extra folders, literally just click on a folder and locate where your drums are, push OK. So say for example, okay, I don't know if I've got any. So if I went to custom samples, okay, custom samples will be there, and anything that was in custom samples will be there. So don't get overwhelmed with where everything is. So take it step by step, and I promise you'll be making beats in no time. And don't think of it as a competition. Just make sure that you're having fun. Right, okay, so that was the first part. All your drums should be located in here. Okay, so like I say, if I was to open one of these FX, I'll open it up so you can see. I've just picked a random folder. Okay, these in FX folder. So all these are WAV. Okay, and there's some kicks. If you push the up and down button on your keyboard, you can literally just scroll through them. Just be careful not to push enter. I'll tell you why, because when you push enter, you're going to take over whatever channel is on the channel rack. Now the next one is the channel rack, I would say. This is the channel rack, and this is where all your instruments are going to be. So everything that you use, say for example, I want this kick, and also I wanted a VST. Okay, I'll start basic. So let's go Harmer. Okay, Harmer comes with Fruity, obviously if you buy the extension, and that's just the init patch. The init patch is pretty much on all VSTs. It's just the built-in sound, and you can alternate that sound however you want. Obviously you just got to learn what the buttons and the knobs do. Okay, so like I say, anything that you add, so let's add another Harmer for example. You have two Harmers. Okay, you can recolor them, rename them. So, I don't know, say you want darker colors for lower tones. We'll go blue and we'll call it bass 1. But you found another harmor and you really liked a flute, for example, then you would rename maybe a lighter tone, like a yellow, for example, flute 1. So I haven't put a bass or a flute in as yet, but that's what you would do when you do find a sound. An easier way, what I would do to separate all these, because on here, I'm going to delete this. Sorry, you don't need to worry about the sample. That comes just naturally if you have an empty rack. So here it's where you're going to target your track on the mixer. Okay, so everything needs to feed through the mixer, whether it's the master or a separate channel. Let me just get rid of that. So you have your browser for your kicks and your drums and your effects and all your WAV samples, all samples. You have your channel rack where all the instruments are going to be laid, and that will just keep going and going and going until you can't go anymore. Yeah, so third is the mixer. Now this is the mixer. Now obviously you can't see anything else, so just double click the top and it will make it smaller, and you can actually stretch this to as low or as high as you need. I usually have 2 screens. I usually have the mixer on a separate screen because it just saves me a lot of space for production. Now this is the mixer. This is the master channel. Anything that you play, including the metronome, which is up here. Okay, you push play. As you can see, it's all going through the master. Make sure when you open up Fruity Loops, everything is empty. Okay, because you do not want to be starting with a limiter. A limiter, as it says, it limits certain aspects of the song, and if the limiter isn't a master, you're limiting everything. So also the limiter is a compressor as well, so just be careful. Just make sure everything's empty. Start from the very basic, get you making beats, get you funky, get your groove on, find your sound, take it step by step, and then just enjoy the ride. Okay, so if I was to play this bass, which is not a bass, it's an init patch. Obviously, as you know, I'm going to just remove that for a minute. I know that's going to be going through the master, and what I want to do is I want this separate from every other sound, and you should be doing this every single time you open up a new VST or a sample. So all you do, there's 2 ways of doing this, or 3. You can either click track, and it will literally go to the next open track. Okay, and as you see here, the bass is blue. Now the channel itself is going to be blue, and it's automatically named here. So now when I play it, as you can see, it's coming through here, but it's also running through the master. So if I do any effects on that, if I turn it down really quietly, but the flute that I named flute is still going to be running through the master. So you do exactly the same. Click track just under this top right box, assign free mixer track, and then as you can see, the yellow named itself. Lovely. So you can have that, and then when you click back to your bass, it was quiet. Now this is handy because you're going to be using a lot of effects. You know, compressors, guaranteed. Pretty much everything has to have a compressor. Not everything, but I usually have a compressor for everything, and compressor is always the first thing you use when you put effects on a single channel. So never put anything in the master unless it's like a decibel meter, and I always put like decimal meters at the bottom here, because like it has to go personally, I would say compressor, equalizer, and then obviously, you know, you can do your alternate like a reverb or delay and stuff like that, but definitely make sure that you are putting a compressor first and an equalizer. You do not want to put a reverb in first and then a compressor, because you'll be compressing a reverbed sound, and reverberation can be very, very temperamental when you're mixing. So always start off with your compressor. Okay, so in the mixer is probably going to be the longest thing that you'll be learning about. So let me get a sound in here. So all your presets are usually in the top right arrows. If not, it will be somewhere based in the VST. So just look out for the arrows. So let's go right click on the arrow and you'll see all the presets for the VST. Okay, so as it's a bass, we'll find a bass, and it's all labeled here. Okay, so let's choose greasy wobble. That sounds dirty. Okay, that's not mono. Mono is definitely preferable for bass lines, because if you played two keys, basically what mono is pretty much you'll play one key, and then if you accidentally pushed another key for two keys, like now it's playing two keys, but if it was on mono, it'll play one key and one key only, even if you push two keys. So it's very it's definitely handy for bass lines, because you do not want two bass line notes playing, especially on low tone, because they will wobble and it will sound awful. So just keep that in mind, okay? And the mono button is it can vary on different VSTs, but usually it's in the effects somewhere. Okay, so say we've got a bass line. This is Harmar. Say Harmar comes with Fruity Loops. It's really cool. I make my own presets. You'll be learning about that in the future, about making your own presets, but just for now, honestly, just use the presets that are built in, or if you can download any, download some. But honestly, that's what they're there for. Obviously, we all got to start from somewhere, and they're really cool. You can alternate anything as well, so if you feel brave enough, alternate the sound, and you can always go back. Try and save every 5 or 10 minutes, because obviously you don't know what can happen to your computer, and if you're working an hour and a half on a song, it can be a real pain in the butt when your computer crashes, because it might not have saved anything, and you're sitting there going, oh my god, I've made such a cool track and I'll never get it back. And trust me, it hurts. So Control S is save, as you see up here. Control S, and it'll come up, name your file, call it demo1, and now it's always going to be in file, it'll be the last one that you saved. Okay, so we've got our bass. Let's I'm using the MIDI keyboard, by the way, but you can use your actual typing keyboard. Okay, these will play the keys, but you do need to push a certain button, and that will be up here. Typing keyboard to piano keyboard. Now, not everyone can afford a MIDI keyboard, or maybe their heart is not set on a MIDI keyboard. Some people prefer the keyboard, the typing keyboard, and which is cool, because I started off using the keyboard as well. When I was young, I didn't have a lot of money, and I kind of got used to the typing keyboard, to be fair. But say as a pianist, I do need instruments, because it's a bit hard. It's a bit hard to know what you're playing on the keyboard. But like I say, it's personal preference, whatever you prefer. Okay. So when you've loaded up your MIDI keyboard, okay, we'll go through with some of that stuff in another episode. I'm going to just record. So whatever tempo you're feeling, so I don't know, just, you know, have a little pat on your legs or something, just try and get a little rhythm going. So You know, just say I've got that. What I'll do is either try and match it. This is the tempo. BPM, as they say, beats per minute, is how many beats per minute are playing. Hip hop is usually between 80 to 110 usually. You know, depends on what kind of hip hop, because hip hop can vary. House, deep house, break beats and stuff like that is usually 120 to about 130. Dubstep, UK garage, trance and stuff is usually about 140, 145. And then obviously you've got drum and bass, happy hardcore and stuff like that, and that's like usually at 160. Drum step, that's at 160, 170. 170 above is more jungle. I'm not sure if you're familiar with jungle, but jungle was my first love in music, and it's very fun. You know, very skippy. Yeah, so try and find, if you're not sure about using this, just right click and it will say tap. Click the tap button and just click it 4 times, and it will try and work out roughly what tempo you're looking at. So you know, so 102 is what my beat was saying. My beat with just tapping the mouse. So cool, we'll keep it at 1-2. Alright, so always keep your metronome on when you're recording, because then obviously you're keeping it pretty much in time, but you can alternate. When you record and you use your keyboard, it will automatically go to the piano roll. Okay, but if you don't want to use the record and you want to type it in manually, what you'll do is you'll click on the sound, on the instrument, sorry, right click, piano roll, and what it's going to do is going to send it literally to a piano roll. Okay, and it'll be all on the left, all these. You can scroll this little box in the right corner to stretch out the piano, or to zoom in. Double click any top box to maximize and minimize it. Right. As it's a bass line, we have turned it down, so let's turn it back up. Cool, that sounds really nice. But obviously I'm not going to be using a piano roll because I have a MIDI keyboard, but you can obviously type in, if you have a good ear, then that's all that you need, because it's not the gear, it is the ear, and the ear works so much better than the gear. A lot of people will have all of the top high stuff and not be able to use it, where someone can have a laptop and headphones and make a banger. So it's all about the ear, it's all about what you can hear and how you understand music, not what you own that can alternate music. So just give yourself some credit, and you know, if it's right for you, you'll know. Just have fun, that's the main thing. Have fun. If you're not having fun, then music's not for you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is have some fun. I'm going to record. Cool. Space is start and stop. If you push the space bar, then it will start and stop the song. But before you do anything, just make sure that your record button is off when you're not recording, because anything that you do will get recorded, whether it's turning a knob, turning a volume down, anything, it will get recorded, and it will modulate that, and it will put it in the song. So once you've recorded, obviously there's your piano roll. It's automatically put in the piano roll. Now it can be a pain to find out where all the keys are. It can be. So if you hold control and right click your mouse, it will show you exactly where every key is and how far it's gone. Now obviously you can see that's not in time clearly here. So if you scroll in the black bar at the top, use your scroller, you can see it's not in time. So what I would do is quantize. Quantize is basically matching it to the beat that you've chosen. So if I just click the magnet, that's going to quantize. Quantize is magnet. Magnet is quantize. Snap, as some people say. Now you can go really short. So one out of 6 beat, one out of 4, 1 out of 3. But I always go to cell. Cell will lock it in to the highest point it can. So try and keep it nice and fat, unless you've got a really skippy melody. So if you hold Control A and then A, it will select all. Then hold Control and push Q, quantize. Now you'll have to alternate that yourself sometimes, not all the time, but most of the time. Depends how good you are. Now, as you can see, with a quantize, it's kept every single note tidy. So when you do move around the notes, make sure that they end in the black lines. If it's a simple melody like this. So now if I press play, now as you can tell, the actual bass, the actual preset isn't on time. So I'm going to search for another one. Nice enough. I've just done a little alternation just to make it sound how I would usually have it at that tempo. Okay, so now you've got your bass. You want to put it in the song. Now you haven't reached the song yet. So let's close down the piano roll. And this is the song. It's just up here. The very first one, playlist, as they would call it, but I would call it the song. It doesn't really matter. Same thing. Now this is the song. Now it was recording, and it was recording in the song as well as the channel rack. I'm going to put this over here. So everything that you finish will be on this song here. Okay. So what I would do is I would rename and color exactly the same color. Your colors that you've chosen before will be on the left here. blue, bass 1. Okay. And again, I would do the same for the actual pattern as well in the song. Just keeps it tidy. Cool. Work in bars. It's broken down the bars for you. 16. Remember the lucky number 16, okay? 16 bars, okay? 32 bars, 64, 128. Work in bars. Always work in bars, okay? So I've got 4 basses. I'm going to take the metronome off now because we know that the bass is in time. So let's play. Okay, it's a good enough job. Okay, so we had another one, we called it flute, but it was still the in it patch, as every VST does have. So let's change that to a flute. As we've said flute, let's see if we can find one first. Okay, let's change the actual VST itself. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the VST. So I'll right click, okay, and then I will replace. And then when you replace, all your VSTs come up just as you would push the add button up top, or the plus here. Okay, so flute. Actually, you know what? Let's call it piano. Now this is pianissimo. It's not expensive, and it's pretty cool. It's literally a piano. I'm just gonna soften it. I allowed a tiniest little bit of chorus. Chorus has an effect where it sounds more, it's kind of like a phaser in a sense, but it's not. It's like it gives it a phased harmony, if you will. And pretty much every VST has a chorus. So if I was to play a single note and I was to play chorus up, kind of makes it sound like an old piano. Okay, but that works with most VSTs, and you'll find the chorus in the effects area. But I'm not going to be using a lot of a chorus. I'm going to literally have it about there, just to give it that extra little touch. I'll take the bass down a little bit. You want to take the bass down on most of your melodies and stuff, because you don't, when bass interacts with bass, it can be trouble in the mix down and the master. So just try and cut off, just bypass any bass and anything that you think that might interact with other VSTs. I'll always take down a little bit mid, not too much, and I'll go a little bit higher on the piano. So okay, lovely. Now it comes with a reverb, but I try not to use the reverbs that are in the presets, in the VSTs, unless it's Serum. Serum is my favorite VST, but I'll take that. It just saves CPU because you already have reverbs. So never adjust the volume in the actual VST, because it will clip even though your volume is down on the top here. So the channel volume and the VST volume are two different volumes. So keep that at its basic volume, and if you do need to turn it up with a FX, or turn it up with the actual channel volume. So it sounds pretty dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a reverb to it, but I won't be putting it on first. I'll be putting the compressor on first. So let me just, like I say, one thing at a time. I'm going to make sure that you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'll probably go to slot 3, because reverbs are after compression and equalization. Convolver is exactly the same thing as a reverb, just a reverb is a built-in reverberation, where a convolver will reverberate your sound with a built-in sound, or a sound that you put in. For example, say you had a clap that went just a normal clap, you can actually assign that clap to the convolver, and it will, any sound that you have will reverb just like that clap. So like, say you had a quick one, it will only reverb until the clap or the sound ends. I'm going to start off with the convolver actually. Okay, so okay, the impulse is the actual sound itself. Okay, that's the sound that comes with the convolver. So anything that you do play will reverberate like that. Okay, so if I was to get another impulse, all you'll do is literally search in impulses. You'll have an impulse folder automatically. As you can see, the reverb is different. I like that one. Cool. Depending on what kind of sound that you have assigned to your convolver, VST, what is assigned to your convolver, sorry. It all depends on the producer. So for a piano, I would take a little bit of the low end out on the reverb. So if I was to put the low end high, the equalizer on the convolver will control the equalization of the actual reverb itself. So you can actually just reverberate the high or the low end. Now, most of the time you wouldn't reverb a low end, most of the time, because bass will interact with bass, like I say, and a reverberated bass is just trouble. So what I would do is I'll take most of the bass down, go a bit higher, maybe add another section. Make sure you turn that back off. Come from about 146 hertz. Now I would curl that. And then obviously it doesn't sound just right yet, so I'll come back a bit more. Come back a little bit more. Now it sounds more like a hall piano. You could say if you was to turn the bass up on the equalizer on the convolver, it sounds dread. So cut off as much bass as you can. Each to their own. I mean, a lot of producers might not agree with me, but like I say, each to their own. And there's many ways to climb the mountain, but only a few are the same. Just remember that. Okay, so now we've got our piano with a convolver. Let's remember what our bass sounds like. So now we obviously want that piano matching the same tone and the same pitch as the bass. Make sure that all the instruments are not overwhelming each other. So I will just turn the bass down, because you can always turn it back up in the mix or the master. So I'm going to record something. Okay. I didn't have the record button on, I do apologise. Nope. I actually did have the record button on. What I didn't do, this is what you'll come across. All producers do it, and it's an accident that all producers will always do. When you record something else, okay, you need to put another pattern in. This is pattern 1. I've called that bass 1, the actual pattern itself, and this is pattern 1. So track 2, you can assign that to pattern 2. Here are the patterns. This is the pattern selector, okay, up here. So I'll push plus, and it's going on pattern 2. As you can see, now this is empty. Call it piano. Okay, now I'm going to go back into the bass one, and I'm just going to right click the piano and cut. Okay, or if you liked what you did, Control Z to undo the cut. Make sure that this is only lit, the piano. Control C is obviously copy. Go back into your pattern. Go back into pattern 2, which is piano. Control V, copy, paste, sorry. And now you still need to delete the piano in here. Don't worry, we all make the same mistakes, and you're only human and you're only learning at the end of the day. I still make these mistakes. Okay, so now our piano is there. I'm going to just go into the piano. Keep the metronome on, obviously, because you need to know if it's on time before you think it's finished. So like I say again, hold Control, right click, and it will show you exactly where the pianos are. So let's have a little listen. Make sure you take record off. Too fast for my own good, and there was a note here that I wasn't happy with. What I'll do is go up. Now I know that note's going to sound better. Okay, now they're all off. So I'll hold Control, quantize, see. But now they are definitely not on. My recording was a bit fast, so now they're quantized. I'll just move them right and see what happens. Okay, I'm happy with that. And as you can see, because I've taken the low end out of the piano, it gives the bass enough bass, only on the bass, to do its thing. Let the piano do its thing on its own without the bass interacting with the low end of the piano. So take low end off as many things as you can, okay? Alright, so now I've got a bass and I've got a flute, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm cool with that for a minute. Now let's get some drums. I'm going to take the metronome off, because when you start using drums, I don't use a metronome. I don't see why, when you're basically creating a metronome with drums, in a sense. So I have a separate drums folder which has pretty much all my drums, not all of them, but pretty much all of them. So first thing I would usually get is a kick. Now, I must warn you, when you drag stuff from here, do not drag it into the channel rack. Alright? Do not in the channel rack, because it takes out some of the mass and the volume. When you drag it straight onto the song on the playlist, it will keep it exactly at its normalization, and you won't get no disturbances when you're trying to turn up and down. I mean, a lot of people will disagree with me, but it's fine. A lot of people make beats different than other, but this is the best way, because you want to see the WAV itself. And when you're when you're making drum loops, I mean, don't get me wrong, these are pretty cool, I ain't gonna lie, but obviously, because I know how to make a drum loop in the song, it's better to learn that than it is to practice on here, because once you get used to this, you get used to it, and you want to see WAVs. See, this here is okay for melodies and stuff like that, but at the end of the whole song, you want to render these separately into WAVs, and I'll show you how to do that in another episode. Okay, so that's cool. It just saves CPU as well. Right, so let's get our kick. It's going to be loud. As you can see, it's in red. Now, if you remembered earlier, I said to assign each sound as you go. So let's click on that. Let's click track. Here it is. Kick on number 4. And we can see exactly how loud it is. That's nearly at 0 decibels. Try and keep everything roughly about -4 decibels. Okay? Because when you do the master and the mix, you can actually use that -4 to get to 0, and you won't have no clips, no distortion and stuff. So I'll come down. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Alright. I'm just going to take out some of the out of the sample. Cool. Now I've just made it so it fills up one of these bars, sorry, half of that bar. I'm going to copy and paste a little cheat, a little shortcut, shall I say. Hold control and it will select anything that you want, obviously when you left click the mouse. Okay, if you don't hold control, you're pasting. Control is basically select. So I'd select everything that I want to paste. It's all in red. make sure that you get the plus symbol sort of thing. It's you don't want this because that'll stretch. You want that symbol so you can move it around. But once you get there, hold shift, drag it, boom, and then again. Right, it's coming along nicely. Now let's get a snare. Sometimes it can be a pain in the butt to just keep searching through the snares, not knowing if it's going to fit the beat or not. So what I would do, just get one that sounds okay, just for now. And I would put it exactly where it's supposed to go. And again, click into the actual instrument in the channel rack, assign, so it's in its separate channel. I'm gonna just take the out just a little bit, just so it doesn't drag. And obviously the volume is going to be quite loud. It's there, it's about -1 to -2 decibels. So we're going to turn it down. And again, copy and paste. Make sure that you're copying and pasting in the right areas, because we all make mistakes, like I say. Just make sure that you're doing it properly. If you do make mistakes, it's fine, honestly, just go back. Okay. It sounds too cheesy on that drum loop, so I do apologize. Come on. I'm only deleting this because I've changed some of the beginning parts in the drums, in the kick drum. So I'm just gonna repaste the alternation so the whole song has that alternation that I've done. At a pretty decent volume, and it's looking good. So let's get some percussions going on. So whatever percussions you want to use, or hi-hats, or any little sounds, use whatever you want. Okay, I've dragged that into the song, and that's going to be loud as well, so I'm just going to turn it down a little bit. Click on it, assign it to a track. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. I don't usually make hip hop, by the way, so if that's what you'd call it. I think that's a little little bit too loud compared to the other instruments, so just keep your eye on the volume of each of them. Try and separate them in your mind. The percussion needs to be a bit more quiet than the drums and the snare, because they're the leading instruments. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's get another percussion. Again, just turn them down. Assign it to another track. Sounds pretty cool. I'll get another percussion. I think I accidentally. Yeah, I did. One second. Okay. Okay, so without that, I've got this drum loop here. So say for example I wanted that right in the half of the kick and the hi-hat. So it's going like, and I wanted that right in the middle, so it's going so I want it to go. What I'd do is I'd go to the magnet, or yeah, I'll have to go to the magnet, snap, and then step, or half a step, and it will break these blocks in the background down, so you can just get it there. Just turn it down a little bit and assign it to another track. Every time, assign. This is what you need to be doing. Now I'll turn it down, and as you can see, it's a little bit, it stops too early, so I'm just gonna really finely end that just before the hi-hat. Now it's looking nice. And turn this down again, assign to another track. Holding Alt while you're scrolling will finely stretch the sample. If you let go of Alt, it'll do it in bars. What I didn't do is rename and color track 2. So rename everything, keeps it tidy. Oh, I didn't color it. Yellow. Actually, all the percussion are pink, which is pretty cool. So that means I don't really have to do anything. In some cases, a lot of people will assign the same percussion to one channel. I won't be doing that today. I want everything to be separate. You'll learn about that another time. The kick drum is brown, so I'm not sure what kind of way I do. Maybe a little bit lighter. About there. Kick. Ouch. Lovely. Right, so these are already purple. Sounds pretty cool. If you ever make a mistake like I just made, Control Z. Control Z. Now sometimes when you copy and paste, you need to make sure that your snap is back on cell. With these end ones, I'm going to stretch these ones out, because as you can see there's nothing there and it cuts off too much. Now it's starting to look like a beat. Now everything's separated, so let's have a look at the mixer and you'll see exactly exactly what's playing on exactly what channel. So there it is. That is pretty much the basic of it. I've made a beat for you using my pianissimo. Pianissimo doesn't come with Fruity Loops, so you will have to buy that. I'm not going to say to download anything, because if you're going to be a professional producer, let's face it, be professional. Always try and buy your VSTs, because you do feel much more prouder when you've paid for something. And to be honest, it's illegal, let's face it. Okay, so that was episode 1 on let's just get you up and running. I don't want to be messing around and telling you the long terms and the the scientifical names of everything. I just want you to get rocking and rolling. So that's pretty much how you make a beat. So stay tuned for episode 2, and hopefully you'll be back. I'll be back. We'll be rocking and rolling. A1 Productions. My name's Neil, and you are about to become a producer. So all the best in your productions. If you do have any questions, please feel free to ask one of our admins. We are available 24/7, 365 days a year. We have no hesitation in helping people create their own sound. So take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.